Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And I address you as the jury because you gotta make a decision. Not on behalf of me or my client, which I would be a horrible lawyer. I don't think I can argue. I can definitely see and understand an argument, but I just don't know how to argue unless if I'm arguing my own conviction. So maybe I could defend myself, but I don't know if I could defend somebody else. That's a little bit of pressure. Are lawyers aware of the pressure that is on their shoulder with every case? Oh my goodness, people always want to text me when I got the camera on. But ladies and gentlemen, the election results are in. It's 5 days. 5 days after the election. Can you believe it that Tom Hanks and Robert De Niro and Miley Cyrus and Cher and her uh, boyfriend, who's Tyga's friend, can you believe they're still on American soil after they said they were going to leave? Can you believe that? Seriously, can you believe that? That they're still on American soil 5 days after the election and the leader of the country wasn't their candidate? Because I can certainly believe that. Okay, they're famous people. It takes time to scrub a record. I'm sure. I don't know. I hope nobody's scrubbing records. I hope they're just ready to leave. It takes more than 5 days. Even the run of the mill broke person in America, they're not even out of here in 5 days, and they got nothing else to do. They don't have records to clean. Maybe if they're on the run, but still, they don't care. They just leave. They just leave. It takes time. The right is really being condescending about it. And it takes time. Be patient. Exercise it. They'll get out of your hair. And maybe you shouldn't tweet every racing thought you have. That certainly will help, right? Same with the left. That's different. They are both of what you see the right and left online. That's either far left and right, or it's bordering where there's still some chance they will be cured. There's a cure for both sides. I don't know what it is. In my experience, just muting politics, stop dying on a hill. Just because you have beliefs and you'll vote on your beliefs does not, and of course maybe do research, because I think you should allow room to grow, and you're allowed to change views and beliefs. I don't think you should ever forget that. But then, other than that, I would just tune them out, which is hard in this day and age. I'm almost on the line of making a burner account. Josh M. Glore's burner. If the character count doesn't exceed, then it might just be Josh's burner. Pretty sure that one's taken. So I don't know. I just want to mute any I want to mute all politically charged buzzwords and follow Tequila. Remember her. My age might be the last that remembers Tila Tequila, and our memory's fuzzy of her. A shot of love with Tila Tequila. But ladies and gentlemen, the results in, and Donald Trump is president. Now, I didn't vote. I'm not part of this. But even if I did vote, the world's gonna turn. I don't know. I'm gonna continue to live my life. If this podcast became monetized ages ago, but it's not and never will be, because I am the least consistent person I know. I probably would have voted for him, or maybe if I had a podcast compound, a big old fantasy factory. If I was a powerhouse in the medium, then I probably maybe would have voted for Kamala. Paid very little to my employees, who we would have to Google Translate everything because maybe they speak Spanish, maybe they speak Eastern European. I don't know. So I am just your run of the mill American. Also, I'm very aware I not voting, sitting it out. I did exercise my white privilege, and I was like, I don't think this is really going to affect me, regardless the outcome. And I still think outside of white privilege, I don't think too much changes. I could be wrong. I'm not making any claims pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Kamala, anti-Kamala. But I did exercise my white priv, and I was like, yeah, just another Tuesday. Finally, that's a saying, that's a punchline. Just another Tuesday, and it worked very well. Thank you for laughing. You're probably driving in the car. I know every single 13 listeners, and only 2 of them have a car, so I'm being very generous. But you're probably driving in the car and laughing. You're like, "Wow, that the wordplay and the execution was just brilliant, Josh, brilliant." But yep, just another Tuesday. Last Tuesday. Unfortunately, these Democratic celebrities are not out of the country yet, and I really I wish they were, just so that the right didn't have another thing to point fingers. A lot of sore winners and sore losers in this election, and it's sad. It's really sad. And I think, again, it's the internet. It's the most extreme, or at least bordering the nearing to that area of extreme on either side of the spectrum. That's sad. How come I have not seen a tweet about Doja Cat? It's all election, this, that, and the other. I do not know. If the election could have gone either way. By the way, this is a punchline, but I was kind of undecided. Everyone was like, "Really, you're undecided?" And they were polarizing. I think Bill Burr said polarizing candidates and opponents and whatever. I was undecided. When it's that polarizing. Am I saying? Can I say that correctly? I'm talking to my future immigrant employee who does not work here yet. I'm talking to myself, but they were that opposite of each other, and I just it felt like it shouldn't be that black and white. Nothing should be black and white other than uniform and punctuality. Those are the only 2 things, and that's all under one umbrella called a job. I was undecided, and each election, I've had 3 in my lifetime, my adult lifetime, and they're always the biggest election of my lifetime. Each one gets hard, and you just got to assume all the political identity that you can, create as much weight and pressure for your shoulders and self, and make the most hardest decision, and going to the polls, and then you do it again 4 years later. I tap out. It is rigged, I think. I kind of alluded to earlier. If I was rich, maybe I would have voted for one candidate for this reason or another candidate for that reason, and it would have benefited. But I'm just an average guy. So it's just rigged, I think. That's not to discredit my Republican neighbor or my Democrat neighbor, but I think the people that represent it at the highest levels or higher levels, I just don't buy into it. As much as it would be ideal and nice, I'd like to feel like my vote counted. I did vote the old Biden in 2020. First of all, let me say this. Every vote I've casted, which has only been 2, every vote that I've casted, I've regretted. I didn't feel good about. For anybody in the right ball field and spews out whatever other people in the right spew to them, and then they just regurgitate it, and it happens on the left too. Say for a moment Biden did have the most successful presidency, and say Trump did too. Why isn't it ever so solid in your face if it's the most successful presidency? I don't know. Maybe I'm just politically declined and ignorant, and maybe that's good. I think it's good. because I think I sleep better at night. He's the president, folks, whether you like it or not. It's that song. It is indeed, I'd love to change the world by 10 years after. I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do, so I'll leave it up to you. There we go. I'm leaving it up to the extreme left and extreme right. I'm not talking to you if you're more in the middle. And not even moderate, but just in the middle between extreme on both sides. I'm leaving it up to you. I don't have an idea. I don't want to contribute an idea. And again, maybe I'm exercising my white priv. I don't know. I know I'm a good person. I know I don't abuse it. At least I certainly hope not. And it's just stressful. Comedy's probably going to suck. We reintroduced the words uh, retard and faggot. And I'm not offended and calling things gay. Sorry, my computer's doing something. Okay. And we reintroduce those words, which I'm pro, as long as it's not derogatory and you're calling somebody that, which is the opposite of the argument. You can call somebody retarded and they're not retarded, and it's supposed to be an insult to their intelligence. So that one's a kind of yeah, that one's kind of tricky. But calling things retarded is kind of fun. So, anyways, we reintroduce those words, and it's almost like I'm on strike. I don't want to say those words because people who aren't as clever and funny as someone that can make that funny and uncomfortable and not a cheap laugh, it's being overused by them. So comedy, just by that alone, comedy's probably gonna suck. I fear with Donald Trump back in office, Joe List brought this to my attention. I thought it was interesting. It was on a podcast. It wasn't in a private discussion. He said that cancel culture might have a second wave because the left will be pissed off and they'll do anything for to execute power, whether it be political or not. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I have no reason to be canceled. The shadow banning thing, that's the only thing I worry about. It's like the masses I can deal without, but as long as I can still post to whatever niche audience I can create and generate for myself, that'd be a big bummer. If I'm just posting, this video wasn't that funny, but if I was being funny and making subject matter, making light out of it and being funny, it would kind of just make me want to just, I don't know, kill myself. I don't know. Bear in mind, I'm fear mongering a bit, but all my left friends are going to abandon me, rise up and say that he doesn't care, that a Nazi is in office. He's turning a blind eye, and that makes him a Nazi. And then the right is gonna try to welcome me with open arms, and I'm gonna say I don't like any of you. You all have families. It creeps me out. And I'm just a black sheep. Where's that party? I voted black. I will tell you what the election did do for me. Well, first, let me just say this. I'm at an all-time high of hating people. Like, I am at my peak of hating people. It's gonna get better. I'm aware. Of course, it's gonna get better because I am capped, and it's not just Josh. You've lived a third of your life. You've been in hospitality, a very taxing industry. What do you think another 6 years is gonna do? Or don't you think you're gonna become more bitter? No, I've capped. I cannot exceed this. There's no point. There's no point in becoming more bitter. Just zero. I'm 2 sentences away from a final, complete suicide note. If I do get worse, that is dangerous territory. I either snap and I have an origin story and I'm a villain, or I kill myself. I need to be better. I need to stop taking myself and things so seriously. I just need to move. I just need to laugh. I just need to have fun. So I've capped. It's not getting better or worse or whatever. It's going to get better because I'm going to allow it to get better. But yeah, I've reached my point. It's sad. I'm just so I've always been cynical, but now I'm just bitterly cynical, and it's like I lost hope. It's not very rewarding. It keeps me up at night. And this election, every election, but this election, I really took stock of it. It's just people are dumb, hysterical. Both sides fearmonger. Both sides propagandize, if that's a word. And it's evil. And I like I said, I used the white priv. I tapped out because I truly think it's rigged against people like you and me. I do, and I don't mean you or me and other white people. I mean people that are just average. They're lower class or middle class, whatever. I just think it's rigged. I think it'll always be rigged. I think if anything, if we see any sort of progress or any successful presidency, I think it is certainly one step forward, but somewhere along the lines it's two steps back. I do. I think it's rigged. I think there's a lot of working together, blue or red, and they don't care, and you shouldn't either. You can live the life you want, but and also abortion's gonna it's not going away. It's always gonna be there. It's been too big of an issue with the advancement of science and I don't know, maybe medicine. I've never had an abortion personally, firsthand, paid for 3, and I might be financing a 4th. No, I'm kidding about the 4th one. But I think there is such a strong cause, which I support it by the way. It's such a strong cause that there'll always be an option available. You might get criminally charged later on down the road. In 15 years, it might federally be, but there's always going to be a safe option, I think. I think before it was in the limelight, it was some nasty options to get an abortion. It was very unsafe and it was even more traumatizing than what it is, but it's not going away, I don't think. And if I'm wrong, maybe a little part of me hopes I'm wrong, and you crucify me and call me a pig and I hope all those negative comments I read enough and I kick the stool from underneath myself in the news and it's all over. I hope I'm wrong because just living and being bitter and dying on a hill and like I have the same belief that you're dying on that hill for, but it's like a little bit of selfishly, I gotta take care of me first. I want no rights to be violated on a humanitarian level. And I want somebody that feels like they were born in the wrong body and they made the choice to identify as the opposite of what they were born, and I want them to die happy and I truly also at the same time there's another part tugging at me where it's like it just seemed like out of nowhere a bunch of folks decided to say they don't feel like how they were born and they hopped on the bandwagon and then there's parts where there's registered sex offenders trying to evade a record and trying to identify as a trans person. That's not fair to the crimes they committed, and that's not fair to people that truly want to identify as a man, transition or woman, and transition, and then they die happy many decades later down the road. It's not fair. There's everything where it's not fair. It's not fair for a woman to go get an abortion because she's just starting to use it as birth control. That's not fair. So I don't know, folks. I'm done. I know what I believe in, and I know what I will vote on because I think is right, and that's all I think I can do. I mean, I'm sure there's more. I can be on the front lines and of every issue, but it takes up too much time if I'm being selfish and if I'm being honest and if I'm wanting to focus on my own uh, life. Life is pretty bleak, miserable, and mundane. And I'm trying to laugh as much as I can and smile and not be so bitter and not falling into the traps on social media and having you make me feel like whether it's one way or the other, I need to make the most important decision of our lifetimes every 4 years. It's not worth it. Just not worth it. to me. There's people that are born to do that, to be an activist. I wasn't, but I have issues and policies that I strongly believe in, and I've always been a progressive boy. I was raised by a single mom, and it absolutely blows my mind how I don't think she's as radical as I make her, but she just flipped to alt right. And again, I don't think she's as radical as I just made that sound, but it's just she stayed online for a couple election cycles and feeds into the propaganda and it's just amazing how I still think the progressive ideas that I watched her get the short end of the stick, and I still stand for many of them. And lastly, I did say earlier that you can leave room to flip flop and change, and I think that's good. It shows that you're either extremely dupable, as in you got duped, because I don't think dupable is a word. But you're willing to listen to the other side and exchange someone else's perspective. And hopefully, anytime you give your perspective, it's to somebody that gives you the time to do so. But anytime I've flip flopped on an issue, which hasn't been many, it was through time, questions that I didn't feel dumb for asking, and it certainly wasn't through finger pointing and cutting someone off or having myself get cut off while making a point or trying to make a point. So bear that in mind, folks. But Donald Trump is the president in January. And they say these things, they're saying the online right is saying these things like Donald Trump's on a phone call with Zelensky. Russia's interested in pulling out of the war. There's going to be an 800-mile buffer zone, which just sounds like a delay and what he really wants to, I don't know. And then Hamas wants to withdraw. And it's just like, bear in mind, right? It happened during Biden's presidency. Now, sure, he wasn't the root of it, but it still happened under his wing. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Donald Trump's the president. And he might be running it in a jail cell. Probably not, let's be honest. But wouldn't that be great? That'd be amazing. That is America running the country from a jail cell. That's impressive. That's impressive even if it's the least successful presidency in the world. That is truly crazy. You got it left or right. I know right. I know your guy is locked up, but he might be doing a horrible job. I don't know. I don't know what the success rate of running the presidency in Washington D.C. is. Truly don't. I'm ignorant. I'm dumb. I don't know anything about everything. And he's doing it. He's calling shots. He's signing bills. They hand the bill through the little jail cell. I'm sure he's probably like in the room, like where somebody on trial's meeting with lawyers. I'm sure that's where the signing would happen. But it's funnier to picture the guard giving it. But the guards are corrupt. Guards are corrupt. As a matter of fact, I think every prison guard's a dirty cop on the street that got caught for being dirty, but made a pretty good plea not to lose his job and his pension. And they're like, all right, you're going to the correctional facilities and basically do all this shit you were doing on the street, but you do it to people that subjectively deserve it. So if they did hand former President-elect Donald Trump the bill through the jail cell, and he hands it back with his signature, they probably lit it on fire or crumbled it up. But he's probably not going to be in a jail cell running the country. That's probably the reality of it. I have no clue what the left has up their sleeve. I honestly hope they have nothing up their sleeve. Just gotta get back to the drawing board, guys. You gotta admit, I want world peace, and I want to intervene in conflict just as much as the next guy. But in the history of the world peace has never existed, has never been achieved. There's always going to be conflict somewhere. And I would feel more comfortable intervening and helping for the sake of democracy or whatever the better answer is from the conflict of what needs to happen. I'd rather do that when our own country isn't so polarized and hateful towards each other and pointing fingers. And you gotta admit the Trump campaign focused a little bit on that. They're like, let's focus on some internal issues before we go external. And I think that's why the man got the vote. Couldn't focus on joy because there is no joy when it's pretty much a 50-50 split. And it'll always be like that because it's rigged. It's rigged, folks. Then again, don't take my word. I don't know anything about everything, but it's rigged. Donald Trump is the president elect and also former president. We'll see how his first 90 days go. We'll see if anything was promised from the campaign, which I don't know the percentages, but I don't know what is actually delivered historically. I always feel like it's maybe something. It's always a percentage of something that was delivered, or maybe percentages of some things that were delivered, but it's never the outcome that was promised. But again, I am very ill politically minded, so I could be completely wrong and lying to you, lying straight to your face, while two of you of my 13 listeners are driving to whatever job that you're going to. Whatever job you're going to, I certainly hope whoever got voted in was going to make it more bearable. Mine's a little unbearable at the moment, but we'll see, folks. We'll see. Those are my thoughts on the election, guys. 5 days after, can you believe that Tom Hanks, Stephen King, Cher, and her 38-year-old boyfriend, they're still on American soil? I can't get over that. That is some big talk. And what's the guy? Bono. Did his car go over the cliff? I don't know. People say some really bizarre stuff. It's a shame De Niro's leaving. I think this year I made the realization that I fucking love Robert De Niro. He might be I even though he kind of is the same character. Yeah, I don't know. I that's too much to say. That's too bold to say. But yeah, I'd hate to see old De Niro. Peace out. He still has 2 more good movies in him. Just go ahead and take care of yourselves. Stop assuming so much political identity. I guess in the right, anything where old President-elect, former President Trump does something that's viral, maybe not retweet it. And whatever the version for the left of that is, don't retweet it, don't interact with it. Just I would maybe focus a little bit on you. I'd prioritize yourself higher than it. Unless if you're a straight white man, then I would maybe not prioritize yourself, because it's in the blood of straight white men, which is in the subconscious, and you're always going to prioritize yourself. So I would make a steady effort. One thing nice to be said about another group of people. And then when the straight white man tries to say one nice thing about another group of people, he realizes there's many, 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 many groups of people in the world, and that fuels the fire of hatred. God, there's so many of them. I have to say another. Can I recycle the same nice thing I said about the Jews? Can I recycle what I said about the Jews for the Palestinians? Said the straight white male who has to say one nice thing about every other group of people. The straight white male does not get to prioritize himself. It is an important time. That's probably what they meant by most important election of our lifetimes. This is the election. This is the presidency and cycle where the straight white male on a daily basis says something nice about every group of people on planet Earth, and is getting frustrated, and it makes him not think the nice things he's saying, but he's keeping his cool. I don't know. Prioritize yourself, guys, and stay offline. Make social media scrolling the last thing you do, but when you're winding down for the evening. I'm guilty of it. I've been off, but of course this week's news is I've just been on social media any chance that I get. I'm curious. So I need to take my own advice. And it might happen. It might not. I don't know. I wish I did have healthier habits. I wish instead of that last hour of my day before I wind down, I'm thinking of podcast ideas or writing jokes. But I'm not. I'm a slave to the screen and the scroll. Thank you guys. This wasn't really an episode, but I don't know. This was completely off the. Well, I'm not. Some of the jokes were written in episodes that I tried to record, but I couldn't. I was having technical difficulties, and so yeah, so this wasn't completely off the dome, but yeah, I don't know. I got to be more consistent with the podcast. I just don't know how. I don't know if that's what I truly want. I don't even know if I want to be a comedian. But more on that later down the road. We'll see. We'll see. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the freedom while you have it. No, I'm kidding. That's fear mongering. We are in this together. The system's rigged. The most we can do is live in our own delusions. I'm gonna be a successful podcaster, comedian. You're gonna be something else, and we're gonna do it without politics just stressing us out, turning our hair gray faster than what the president supposedly does. The presidency supposedly does. And guys, we're just gonna be lied to together, and we'll even fight the for the issues we strongly. I won't. I'll still vote on it. I'll still have the same vote as you, but you died on a hill for it. I had to prioritize a joke where retard was the punchline, even though it's oversaturated in the blink of an eye as we reintroduce and whatever. But take care of yourselves is the message, guys. See ya.